My dear friend, I'm writing to you tonight because I see you. I see you in the quiet hours when the world has gone to sleep, still awake with that familiar ache in your chest, the one that whispers you haven't done enough. I see you in the morning light, already carrying the weight of 1,000 unspoken expectations before your feet even touch the floor. You who always tries too hard. I know those words might sting a little, because trying hard, isn't that what we're supposed to do? Isn't that the virtue we've been taught to cherish? Give it your all, go the extra mile, never settle, never stop reaching. But somewhere along the way, dear heart, the reaching became grasping, the trying became striving, and the beautiful desire to show up fully became a relentless hunger that never seems satisfied no matter how much you feed it. I wonder if anyone has ever told you that your worthiness isn't something you have to earn with bloody hands and an exhausted soul. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine a garden, your garden. In this garden, there are flowers of every kind. Some you planted deliberately with careful hands and hopeful hearts. Others simply appeared, seeds carried by the wind, taking root in the rich soil of your being. Now I want you to see yourself in this garden, but you're not tending it with gentle care. You're pulling at the stems, trying to make them grow faster. You're painting the petals when they're not quite the right shade. You're whispering urgently to the buds, begging them to bloom before their time. You're comparing your roses to your neighbor's roses, your daisies to the ones you saw in a magazine, and finding yours somehow lacking. You're exhausted. The garden is exhausted, and still you feel like you haven't done enough. This is what happens when we try too hard. We forget that growth has its own rhythm, its own sacred timing that cannot be rushed or forced, no matter how desperately we want it to be different. I think I know where this came from, this relentless drive. Maybe you learned early that love was something conditional, something you had to perform for, achieve for, prove yourself worthy of. Maybe you heard the words, "good job," only when you exceeded expectations, so you learned to always exceed, to always push, to always be more than what you are. Maybe someone once looked at you with disappointment in their eyes, and you decided right then and there that you would never let anyone see you fall short again. Or perhaps the world simply taught you, in 100 small and cutting ways, that who you are isn't enough, that your natural pace is too slow, that your instinctive way of being needs improvement, adjustment, refinement, that rest is laziness, that gentleness is weakness, that to be loved you must be extraordinary. So, you became extraordinary, but at what cost? Here's what I want you to know. The armor you've been wearing, this constant striving, this perpetual trying, it was never meant to be permanent. It was a survival strategy, and it served you well when you needed it. But survival and living are not the same thing. You are trying to earn something that has already been given to you freely. Your existence, just your simple, unadorned existence, is the gift. Not what you produce from it, not what you achieve with it, not how perfectly you execute it. The gift is that you are here, breathing, feeling, experiencing this strange and tender mystery of being human. I know this is hard to believe. I know it feels too simple, too easy, like Someone's trying to sell you something that can't possibly be true, because if it were true, if you really were enough just as you are, then what was all that suffering for? All those years of pushing and proving and perfecting. But dear one, the suffering wasn't for nothing. It taught you resilience. It showed you your strength. It carved depths into your soul that now allow you to hold such tenderness for others who are struggling. But you don't have to keep suffering to prove that those lessons mattered.
Let me tell you about the bird that tries too hard to fly. It flaps its wings frantically, muscles straining, heart racing, convinced that only through maximum effort will it stay aloft. But the bird that knows how to soar, it catches the thermal currents. It understands that sometimes flight is about surrender, about finding the invisible support that's already there, about trusting the air to hold it. You are that first bird, my friend, and you're so tired. What if, and I'm just asking you to consider this, what if trying less hard didn't mean caring less? What if easing your grip didn't mean letting everything fall apart? What if the world wouldn't crumble if you took a breath, put down the burden, and simply existed for a moment, without purpose, without productivity, without proving anything at all? I know the fear that comes with that thought. If you stop trying so hard, who will you be? The trying has become your identity. It's how you know yourself. It's your value proposition to the world. Without it, you fear you might disappear entirely. But here's the truth that fear doesn't want you to see. Underneath all that trying, there's a you that's been waiting patiently for recognition. A you that's inherently lovable, not because of what you do, but because of what you are. A you that doesn't need to be fixed, or improved, or upgraded. A you that is, right now, in this very moment, perfectly and completely enough. I want to offer you something, not a solution, because you're not a problem to be solved, not a fix, because you're not broken. Just an invitation to lay down the weapons you've been using against yourself. What if, just for today, you tried softer instead of harder? What if you spoke to yourself the way you'd speak to a small child who's trying their best, with encouragement, with gentleness, with the understanding that mistakes are just part of learning? What if you measured your worth not by how much you accomplished, but by how fully you allowed yourself to be human? To rest when you're tired, to cry when you're sad, to laugh without earning it, to exist without justification. What if you trusted that the people who truly love you aren't keeping score? That they don't have a clipboard hidden somewhere marking down all the times you weren't quite enough? What if their love for you isn't contingent on your performance? And what if, this is the hardest one, what if you're allowed to love yourself even on the days when you do nothing impressive at all? I wish I could reach through these words and hold your weary hands. I wish I could look into your tired eyes and reflect back to you the beauty I see there. The beauty that has nothing to do with your achievements or your usefulness or how well you've managed to hold it all together. You are not a machine that needs to run at maximum capacity to have value. You are not a project that needs completion. You are not a puzzle with pieces missing. You are a living, breathing, feeling human being, and that alone makes you worthy of rest, of kindness, of grace, of the same compassion you so freely give to everyone else. The world will not stop turning if you stop pushing it. The people who matter will not stop loving you if you show them your exhaustion. The sky will not fall if you finally let yourself be held instead of always being the one who holds. So, here's what I'm asking of you, dear heart. Not forever, not even for a week, just for this moment, right now. Take a breath, a real one, deep and slow, filling up all the spaces that have been tight with tension. Drop your shoulders, unclench your jaw, soften the grip on everything you've been holding, and whisper to yourself, even if you don't quite believe it yet, I am allowed to rest. I am allowed to be imperfect. I am allowed to be loved exactly as I am. Say it again and again. Let it become a lullaby for your weary heart. Because you, dear friend, you who always tries too hard, you are not too much and you are not too little. You are not failing when you're resting. You are not falling behind when you're being gentle with yourself. You are, in this very moment, exactly where you need to be. And I am so proud of you, not for what you've achieved, not for how well you've performed, but for still being here, still showing up, still finding the courage to keep going even when everything in you wants to collapse. That's the real strength, not the trying harder, the continuing despite it all. So rest now, if you can. Put down the burden of constant improvement. Let yourself be imperfect and ordinary and beautiful as you truly are. You have always been enough. You will always be enough. And no amount of trying too hard will ever make you more enough than you already are. With love, someone who understands.